Captain Phil Harris made it well known. Josh and Jake, his boys, promised to carry on his work. But everything changed for good in August 2022. A long-lost court record came to light online, and it revealed a dark secret that Josh had kept from everyone for 24 years. Because the crime was so shocking, Discovery quickly removed all information about the boat from their system. Streaming services took down all of the shows almost overnight. When Josh was a youngster, he did something that broke everything his dad had built. From 1989 to 1990, the Cornelia Marie was made at Horton Boats in Bayou La Batre, Alabama. For many generations, that small town had been making boats, and this one felt like the last one. Elmo Horton built a lot of big ships, and the Cornelia Marie was one of the last ones. It was 128 feet long, 28 feet wide, and had a draft of 11.7 feet. It was made of strong steel and ready for the rough Bering Sea. Two Cummins QSK 19mm diesel engines with 750 horsepower each gave it a top speed of 14.5 knots, which gave it a big advantage when racing to the crab grounds. There were 3,000 gallons of fresh water and 2,800 gallons of fuel in the tanks, enough to go on long trips without going back. It cost $2.5 million to make the boat, which was a lot of money at the time, but it was one of the toughest boats out there right away. The name Cornelia Marie came from Ralph Collins's wife, who commissioned it. Ralph named the boat for his wife, Cornelia Marie Collins, to honor her part in his life and at work as a fisherman. She worked right next to him and wasn't just his wife. When ships were named after stories or ideas, that name made the boat stand out. Even though they were no longer married, Cornelia still owned a part of the boat and had her name on the stern. From Kodiak to Dutch Harbor, the Cornelia Marie was easy to spot, thanks to its sea blue and white paint job and bright yellow flags. The Cornelia Marie had to deal with the worst of the Bering Sea from the start. It caught salmon, herring, opilio crab, king crab, and more. It had a lot of fuel and water, so it could stay out longer. This gave it an advantage during the short, tough crab seasons. Early on, the group was made up of both experienced sailors and newcomers. They all had to deal with dangerous waves, strong winds, and constant danger. The Cornelia Marie even helped look for people who were still alive after the Big Valley Dam broke in 2005. There was only one man left. The boat got a reputation for being steady and tough after these tests. A long time before it became well known on TV, people who fished already loved the Cornelia Marie in the 1990s. Improvements. These are all qualities that later made it great for reality TV. It is said that Bill Harris's story became part of the tale of Cornelia Marie. He joined in the early 1990s, shared ownership, and became captain in 1998. Harris was strict, hard to please, and very loyal. He looked out for his team and was there for them through good times and bad. He was close to the boat for over 20 years. Harris's journey began when he graduated from high school at age 17. He grew up in Bothell, Washington, and has been fishing with his dad since he was 8 years old. His friend's success made him want to try crab fishing too. In one season, that friend made more than $100,000 and bought a brand new car. Harris, who was driving a beat-up Chevelle, wanted the same thing. He dropped out of school and went north. It was hard for him in his first season. He quit once and didn't make any money, but he came back after the captain made fun of him. Harris finally hit it big when he was 19 years old, making $130,000 in 1 year. He bought his first boat, the Golden Viking, when he was 21 years old. His captain had given him the captain's chair for his birthday. There were a lot of problems to solve, fixes to make, and respect to earn as a young captain. He had to pay $50,000 for repairs at one point, but Harris kept going. He was known as one of the best on the Bering Sea by the time he was in his mid-20s. Harris was known as a tough guy who smoked a lot and yelled orders, but he really cared about his crew. He was fair with the money he made and never asked anyone to work. He was not going to do it himself. A lot of crew members came back year after year. His personal life was up and down with 2 divorces and drug problems, but he always put his crew first. He said that his worry wasn't because he was in danger, because his men might go home without anything. It came from empty crab pots. The Cornelia Marie went through a lot of changes while Harris was in charge. It was taken apart into 4 pieces and made 22 feet longer as part of a big renovation. This made it possible to hold 100,000 pounds more crab. Josh and Jake, his boys, worked with him on the boat, which became a family tradition. There was a big event in 2005 for the Cornelia Marie. In Season 2 of Deadliest Catch, it was one of only 4 boats that would be on the show all season. It wasn't just luck, though. It was hard for the makers to decide what to do. Their goal was to find the best of the more than 250 boats. They had cut it down to about 89 by the end of the year. Because it caught some time, the fishing world switched from the old race system to the new system of individual fishing quotas that same year. This small group of elite boats only has the best boats in it. That's why the Cornelia Marie is where it is. It was a risky move to bring Phil's kids Josh and Jake on board the Cornelia Marie. It wasn't just a family choice, it gave the show a whole new level. Phil wasn't nice to them. They worked just as hard as everyone else. What people saw was real, the stress and fights, the times when being a dad and a captain didn't get along. There was one moment that people will always remember. Phil looked at Jake and told him, "Man, you need to go to detox. Well, you'll at least have a chance." The show followed the boys as they learned how hard it is to catch crabs. As Phil's health got worse, it showed how hard things were for them. A lot of Phil's friends were sad when he died in 2010. Josh tried to be in charge. Jake fought his bad thoughts. People were interested in the Harris family's ups and downs. It wasn't just a show, it was like seeing real life. Phil's friends really liked him because of how he was. He said what was on his mind. He was genuinely funny. Who could forget lines like, "I feel like a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest," or, "Do you understand why lions eat their young?" People liked him because he was funny, which helped him get through the tough times. Over 5.4 million people watched when Phil had a stroke and later died. A lot of people said they cried with the Harris family. Phil was more than just a captain. He was the show's heart. Fans still post his words on the web. People still buy shirts and hats with his quotes on them. He is still alive. Then there was the boat. The Cornelia Marie wasn't like the other ones. It was easy to see because it was bright yellow and blue. The way the boat looked wasn't just for show, it became a brand. A lot of people bought shirts, hats, and model ships. They put up pictures of the boat when they saw it in port. People still thought of the Cornelia Marie in a good way, even when it changed hands or took breaks from the show. Strong and traditional, that bright paint job made it a sign of both. People also knew the Cornelia Marie for its crab hauls. It was known from the start for catching big fish. Phil pushed hard on the boat and the people on board. The Cornelia Marie was one of the best boats during the tough 2005 season. Phil took chances to stay ahead of weather and other competitors. It also helped that the boat was there. It was 128 feet long and could hold almost 300 tons of crab. That meant hauls that were longer and heavier. The boat's record catches were more than just fun to watch on TV. They showed how skilled and hard-working the crew was. Phil Harris was bigger than life, and so was his battle with drug abuse. He was more than just the tough captain of the Cornelia Marie. People saw him with a cigarette in his hand at all times, sometimes lighting one from the end of another. All of it was caught on film. He drank a lot of coffee and Red Bull and smoked a lot. His health was destroyed by this poisonous mix. Wouldn't quit, even after having a lung aneurysm at sea in 2008. Even though his kids, his crew, and doctors begged him not to smoke, Phil did it anyway. The man who lived through dangerous storms couldn't get away from his drug problem. It caught up with him in 2010. Phil had a huge stroke when he was only 53 years old. It felt like his death was the sad end of a fight he never really fought. Josh and Jake, his kids, had the same heavy load. It was like a curse that everyone in the Harris family was addicted. As early as when Josh was 10, Phil gave him cigarettes and drink. It began when they were young. It was very painful to see Jake's fall. Heroin, DUIs, and charges. After a high-speed police chase in 2024, he got 18 months in jail. Josh did his best to stay strong, but he had his own problems. Thefts happened. There were slip-ups. The family broke up and tried to get back together over and over. Behind the fame of crab diving, there was a real threat at home. It wasn't easier because I owned the Cornelia Marie. It was built in 1989. It cost a lot to keep going. In 2015, getting 2 new engines with 758 horsepower each meant finding new partners to help pay the bills. It went on and on. Crew pay, gas, insurance, fixes, and more. Josh said it was a money hole. It got worse because of the outbreak. Wages for the crew went up to 10 times what they were before. It felt like a risk every season. Nothing good could come from one bad catch. To stay alive, they had to do dangerous things like hunt golden king crab in deeper, more dangerous water. As if that worry wasn't enough, the cameras made it even worse. The show's goals didn't always align with the safety of the crew. Storms for filming, trips being pushed back, and pushing for drama. It made for good TV, but it made crab catching even riskier. Discovery Channel has even taken the boat off of shows at times. It's not because of fishing, but because of the law or public opinion. The team had to find a way to stay alive at sea while also meeting the needs of millions of people watching on TV. Everything changed for good. On January 29, 2010, medevac was set up and he was flown to Anchorage. His kids and crew were left behind, shocked, as Phil was flown away to fight for his life. All of it was caught on camera. Every second, every tear, every crazy radio call brought up tough issues. Should the world see such pain? Phil couldn't say yes or no. Discover helped the family. The Harris boys said yes. It was important to them that people knew the truth to honor their dad. But it was a move that still makes some people feel bad. At first, Phil seemed like he had a chance to win. He put his hands together, he talked, laughed. The doctors didn't believe it. Phil did things in days that most people who have had a stroke would take months to do. The world began to have hope, but hope can be mean. Everything changed when someone suddenly bled from the brain. Phil's situation got worse. Friends and his kids stayed with him. Saying goodbye was the only thing left to do. He died on February 9, 2010, and he was 53 years old. His ashes were split in half and put in a Harley-Davidson gas tank with his mother's. The other half was spread out at sea. He had always lived by the sea. On July 20, 2010, 5.4 million people watched the Deadliest Catch show called Redemption Day. It was one of the most watched shows ever. People saw not only the last days of a captain, but also the sadness of a family, the death of a crew member, and the terrible cost of a hard life at sea. In February 2010, Captain Phil Harris died. After that, his kids Josh and Jake had to do something very hard and sad. They wanted to keep the Cornelia Marie in the family, but they didn't fully own it, and it would cost them a lot of money to get rid of the other people who had a stake in it. The Cornelia Marie, which was built in 1989, also needed major repairs, which made things even more difficult. The brothers tried over and over to get loans, but no one would give them money. People who had money thought they were too young, untrained, and risky. Besides all of that, there were problems in the family. The boat was named for Cornelia Marie Devlin, who used to be Phil's business partner. She had a lot of stake in the ship and didn't always agree with the Harris brothers. The talks were heated. For years, Josh and Jake fought to keep their father's name alive, while also trying to show their crew, the fishing community, and millions of fans what they could do. It looked like they might not be able to do it. The Cornelia Marie went through a rough patch after Phil's death. Derek Ray, who is an old friend of Phil's, took over as captain for now. It was his job to keep Phil's wish that the boat's story would go on in Deadliest Catch. But to be one under Phil felt split up now. Morale dropped. The group almost mutinied when they didn't get enough crabs. They was angry with Ray because he couldn't find crab and was rude. The Cornelia Marie's life went through one of the worst and most stressful times during this time. Josh Harris finally found a way forward after years of trouble. He teamed up with Casey McManus, a friend from childhood who was now an accomplished engineer and deckhand. They were able to get the money they needed together. It was Josh who bought 45% of the Cornelia Marie. Casey bought 5%. The last 50% was split between two outside owners who each got 25%. They were able to fix up the boat thanks to this deal. In 2015, they added new 750H Cummins engines and made other big changes. Each man became a co-captain. Josh had heart and a plan. Casey brought his business sense. They sometimes fought, which confused people watching. But because they worked together, the Cornelia Marie stayed living and was sent back to Deadliest Catch. Josh was putting the boat and his future back together, but Jake's life was falling apart. His drug use had become clear before Phil died. A lot of people watched the show where Phil confronted him for stealing painkillers. Jake told them he was a junkie. After Phil left, things got worse. Jake was caught with a DUI in 2010. He was caught again in 2017 for having drugs and stealing a car. For DUI and trying to sell heroin, he went to jail in 2019. A chase by cops, losing your license, and more time in prison. Things got worse and worse. Jake lost touch with Josh and the Cornelia Marie. His story showed how sad it is that addiction can destroy a life, even in a family that is known for being strong and resilient. Fans were shocked in October 2016 when Cornelia Marie and Josh were not on season 13 of Deadliest Catch. There were lots of reports on social media. To make things clear, Josh put up a movie. There wasn't any trouble on board. It was because of a choice the makers made. That season, they decided to work on other boats instead. Fans knew Josh was upset but he told them that he and the crew were ready to go fishing. Fans were very angry. Many people even said they would not watch the show until Cornelia Marie came back. Fans felt very close to the Harris family and their boat during the whole thing. It wasn't a personal choice to leave out the Cornelia Marie that season. The network wanted to change things up in the stories. After so many years, they thought the show needed new angles to keep people interested. But this move made Josh and the group angry. The show affected their lives and identity. She had to have a double bypass and was on life support for days. 4 times, her heart stopped. There were also people in the family who had strokes, brain bleeds, and other medical problems. The stress was too much to bear. They couldn't fish or make movies because they had to focus on staying alive. Fans came together to help them by giving them money and sending messages. The loss of Captain Grant Harris, Josh's grandpa, made things even worse. Following Josh's loss of Phil, this second loss was very painful. Living up to 2 generations of captains while also having to deal with his own problems was very hard on him. Josh has been open about his sadness and anxiety problems, but the losses he has faced have also made him stronger. The Cornelia Marie story was important to him because he wanted to remember his father and grandfather. Film crews for Deadliest Catch did more than just run cameras during the whole thing. They were like family to me. They had to deal with the same harsh winds, rough seas, and long nights. They saw the Harris family at their most private, including their sad, happy, and heartbreaking times. They had to take a back seat sometimes when things were very personal, but most of the time they did the jobs, ate together, and even got angry with each other. Fans of Deadliest Catch were thrilled when the Cornelia Marie came back in season 14. They had missed her a lot. When the boat went missing in 2017, it broke the hearts of many watchers. The blue and yellow ship had become a show icon because it was linked to Captain Phil Harris. When Discovery said it would be back for the 2018 season, everyone got very excited. There were a lot of posts, memes, and even requests on social media asking the network to keep the boat in the lineup. A lot of people watched when Josh Harris and Casey McManus were in charge. There was more to this than just memories. Fans were curious to see if the next generation could carry on Phil's work. It was clear that they were happy and relieved. This show's soul was in the Cornelia Marie, and seeing it again was like getting a piece of that soul back. With the release of Deadliest Catch Bloodline in 2020, the Harris story took a surprising new turn. This spin-off took place on the sunny shores of Hawaii instead of Alaska's cold seas. Josh found 50 to 60 old fishing charts hidden in his dad's cabin on the Cornelia Marie. That was the start of everything. 3 of these maps were for Hawaii. They had strange notes on them and marked places to fish. Josh was keen to follow his dad's clues, so he teamed up with Casey and Jeff Silver, a fisherman from the area. They worked together to find out what Phil's maps meant. They were after more than just big fish like ahi tuna, which can be worth up to $2,000 each. They found out about a secret part of Phil's past. Bloodline combined fishing with a personal quest, which showed fans that Phil had many more goals than just crab fishing. As the Cornelia Marie kept going, it became clear that the people in charge had changed. Casey McManus, who joined as co-captain in 2014, took over more and more. Casey stepped up, while Josh had problems with people and the law. By season 14, fans could see Casey running the boat and making important choices. His skills kept the Cornelia Marie running smoothly and making money behind the scenes. Casey's leadership became more important as Josh's part shrank, especially after his dark secrets came out. Casey finally moved ashore and became vice president of operations at a big marine business. His rise showed that the Cornelia Marie needed more than just a well-known name. She also needed steady hands. Josh's life was falling apart at the same time. Fans who used to cheer for him were shocked when he started having more personal problems. His image was hurt by problems in relationships, with money, and with his actions. In September 2022, it came out that he had pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting a child years before. This was the worst hit. Discovery moved quickly. They broke up with Josh and took Deadliest Catch and Bloodline off of all streaming services. Josh's image went downhill almost overnight. When old court papers were made public online in August 2022, it was a painful reminder of how fame can fall apart when hidden truths come to light.